Hello everyone, welcome to JND Live. This is me, Jasneet. I hope you guys are doing great. I am here with another video about immigration this time. I'm actually right now sitting in Western Pathway Immigration Services office, and I have Mr. Gauravjeet Singh sitting beside me right now, who is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Hi Gauravjeet, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Jasneet.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for taking out time to answer all the questions that I have for you.
Thank you very much for having me on your channel.
You're most welcome. Okay, so without further ado, I think let's just dive into the questions.
Okay.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, but I've categorized it according to the different immigration aspects. So the very first one I'm going to ask you is about express entry.
Okay.
But before that, I think one of the most awaited questions that I have right now, and everybody wants an answer about, is why there was no express entry draw this week.
You mean last week?
Yes, last week.
Yes, so everyone was waiting for a draw last week, which is October 28th. IRCC has confirmed that the lack of this draw was due to the extra points order to French-speaking people, and it wasn't due to the pandemic. Now, IRCC has to update all the CR scores in the pool before they can do another draw. I'm expecting that once the update is complete, we can expect our express entry draws to be on a regular basis, on a regular bi-weekly basis.
All right. Now, the next question that I have for you is, this is about the funds. Now, if somebody is actually applying for their express entry file and they're putting up the file or uploading the file in the pool, there's a question that asks about how much funds you will be bringing to Canada. What do you think is the appropriate answer for that?
So the answer to the question is, you have to bring the funds according to your family size. Now, there is a LICO table, which is low income cutoff table on the IRCC website. I would say read that. For example, if you're one person only applying for express entry, you need to bring around 13,000 approximately. If you're two-person husband and wife, you need to bring around 16,000 and some change. But and it goes on like that. It increases as your family size increases. So it bases on your family size. I know CEC candidate does not require to bring funds, but yes, they still need to answer that question on the pool when they're creating their profile.
Okay, so does that mean that once we have got the ITA, we actually have to show those amount of funds? Like, is that applicable for every individual who's applying for express entry, or there are like conditions? Whether you are in federal skilled or whether you are for CEC?
So CEC candidate does not require to show funds. As long as they have a job offer, long they have a continuity in job, they are working right now. They don't need to show that. But again, it's optional for CEC candidates only. If you want to show, you can show. If you don't want to show, then obviously you have to satisfy visa officer that you can obviously survive. You can settle yourself in Canada after you get PR. But for federal skilled worker or federal skilled trader, yes, it's a requirement. You still have to show funds in your bank account or by any other means which is acceptable by IRCC.
Now, the next question that I have is, now this is about the past experience that we might have back home. If someone has not informed about their past experience back home, can they still acquire those points after coming to Canada while they're applying their PR?
So your question is that if someone has not told IRCC in the past when they came to Canada on a student permit or on work permit,
yes,
that they have past experience,
yes,
and now they want to claim points for that, right? I would say no, because they have already misrepresented themselves once when they applied for the study permit or work permit, and now if they tell visa officer that they have worked in the past but they haven't told them before, they can get banned for 5 years from Canada. So I would say that once you come to Canada, don't lie. Don't lie. Initially when you plan to come to Canada, plan properly. If your goal is to become PR eventually, then obviously plan it accordingly. Don't miss anything. Tell visa officer about your work experience, about your education, so that you can gain points for that in future in express entry.
All right. Now, my next question for you is, how can someone claim points for foreign work experience if their experience was in cash back home?
Yes, they can still get points for that. They can still claim points for the work experience which was earned in cash. The document they need to submit is a reference letter, obviously, their job offer letter or job acceptance letter that they got initially when they joined the company, when they joined the workforce, or they can actually also show the income receipts. Now, even though they're getting paid cash, but still a company still would have some kind of record of paying the employees. So those kind of records can also be used as documentation to prove that you have a work experience.
I think that was quite thorough. Now, next question is actually my personal question. I just wanted to ask why security check and background check takes so much time.
So there's three federal bodies that are responsible for the security and background check, which are IRCC, obviously one of them, CBSA, and then third is CSIS or CSIS. So all these bodies have their own processes to conduct their research and do the security screening. So if one body is taking time, if their process is long, so obviously it impacts the whole application. Now how it happens is CSIS or CBSA has to give report to IRCC, and then IRCC officer read that report and then submit his final verdict. So the answer to the question is because of three agencies are working together, and each of them have their own procedures, own process of doing work. And that takes a long time.
So following that, is there any way I can check whether my file is actually stuck at screening, or if is there actually something else that's holding it back?
Yes, there is a way. You can either send a web form or you can apply for GCMS notes. I would recommend GCMS notes because it will give you a clear picture what's happening with your file and where it has been stuck and what's going on.
Okay, so when you say GCMS notes, what do you actually mean by it? Like, what are GCMS notes?
Okay, so GCMS notes are a global case management system. This is a system which IRCC officer, visa officer use when they are processing your file. This is a system they use where they put their notes, and this is a system they use when they communicate with each other, with themselves in their company. So this system will tell you everything: why the visa was refused in the past, why the file is delaying, and in what stage your file has reached.
So what, according to you, is the best time to apply for GCMS notes for someone whose file is under process for permanent residency?
Okay, for someone whose file is in process, I would recommend if the normal processing time has been reached, if the processing time has been exceeded the normal times, then apply for the notes to know what's going on with your application. Even if you still want to apply before the normal processing time has been reached, still you can apply. There's no timeline when you can apply or when you can apply. You can apply anytime, but normally people apply when it's close to the processing time and they haven't received any update. If your file is in processing for a few months now and you haven't received not even a single ghost update, I would say that apply for your GCMS note to see what's going on.
Another question related to this is, as you said, we can also know why the file was refused. Does that actually apply to the normal visitor visa files as well?
Yes, they can apply. GCMS note contain information about temporary visas, whether it's a visitor visa, study visa, or whether it's a PR application. So if someone whose TRV got rejected, or in terms of visitor visa got rejected, they can apply and they can find out what was the reason the visa was refused. You need to have a citizen or PR to apply on your behalf. If you're not PR citizen, you can apply, but there are ways that you can still do it. I recommend a website called IMI-Notes. Go onto the website and then just fill out a form, and then you can apply your GCMS notes there. But again, if you have a brother, sister, or anyone who's Canadian PR or citizen, they can apply on your behalf as well.
So when you talk about IMI-Notes, what is it exactly? And are you saying that without having the need of a PR person or a Canadian person, anyone can apply the GCMS notes through IMI-Notes?
Yes, you're right. So if you're not a Canadian citizen, a PR, and you want to apply for your GCMS notes, yes, you can go to iminotes.com and you can apply there. Anyone can apply there for the notes. They have to fill out a consent form though. You can go to the website, fill out a form, send it to the email provided on the website, and then they will apply the notes for you, and then you will get the notes in your email in 3 to 4 weeks, which is normal processing time.
Now, moving on to the siblings. The next question that I have is, can a person sponsor his or her sibling who is under 18 years of age?
Yes, they can still sponsor their sibling if they're under 18 years of age, but there are some conditions. The conditions are if the sibling is orphaned, if the parents are no more, if the sibling is not married, or if there's no one else to take care of the sibling, and if he or she is under 18 years of age. In that scenario, they can sponsor their siblings. There's no other way besides this, but they can still get 15 points if their sibling is applying through Express Entry.
The next question that I have for you is, now if someone's biometrics are done, but is awaiting COPR, confirmation of PR, can they still claim those 15 sibling points for their own application?
No, they cannot claim 15 points until the sibling becomes PR. Even if the biometrics is completed, that doesn't mean they're PR yet. Their PR can be refused at any stage. So until they are PR, don't claim those points.
Now, the next question that I have is, I have two more questions for you before wrapping up the video, and these are about the study visa. Now, the first one is, can somebody apply for study visa without IELTS?
So this is a very common question that get asked by a lot of students in foreign countries. Okay, so the answer to the question is yes, you can still apply, but I would not recommend that. You still have to satisfy visa officer that you have satisfactory level of English that you can study in Canada. You can apply without IELTS, but still you have to prove that you're doing ECL courses before you can get admitted into any regular academic courses. So if you want to apply without IELTS, I would suggest that go through a ECL school first, and then let the visa officer know that you will be going to ECL, you'll be finishing those courses, and after those courses you will be going to do your academic programs.
Now, the next question is, what is the minimum IELTS score that we need to come to Canada?
So that depends. I mean, if you're applying through SDS, which is Student Direct Stream, you need at least 6 bands in each module. But if you're not applying through SDS, then I mean 5.5 can also, you can apply with that. But again, at the end of the day, you have to satisfy visa officer that you have satisfactory level of English so that you can be a bona fide student in Canada. So my recommendation is at least 6 bands, and that's my recommendation. But again, if you don't have 6 bands, you want to apply, you can still apply. There's no restrictions on that.
So that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope this was helpful enough. If anybody needs any immigration consultants or assistance, they can contact Western Pathway Immigration Services. You can reach out to them through their number, which is written down below in the description box. You can also follow them on Instagram. Their Instagram handle will be included in the description box again. They also have a website which again will be linked down below.